Good evening, Lewis.
Hello, Dan. How are you?
I'm well. Are you recording your end?
I'm just doing that as we speak. Sorry.
That's okay. Let me know when you're recording. We'll get going.
Sorry. Fuck. Sorry.
That's okay.
And
Hang on, I'll play the intro music again for everyone. Everyone loves that intro music.
They do, yeah.
Good evening, Lewis.
Hello, Dan. How are you?
Good. Welcome to Irrational Fear. This is a podcast that you co-host. I don't know
Yes.
if you remember.
I do remember, and I just look. I'll tell you. I feel like this is going to become a running bit where I have to come up with a new excuse. Well, in fact, I just tell you the real reason that I'm late.
That's good. I want to hear the real reason why you're late.
So I don't have anywhere to record this podcast because I live in Sydney, and therefore, it's not like I have a podcast room. Like I barely have a bedroom.
You don't live in regional Australia where you can afford a podcast room.
No, and even if I lived in regional Australia, I don't think I could afford a podcast room. But so I am cobbled somewhere around in my child's nursery. So she's now in our bed, and I just hadn't quite done all of the necessary logistics of that. So I had to put her in our bed while she was asleep. Had to get all the microphones that she'd packed away because they can't stay out throughout the week because we don't have enough space for things like anyway. So now I am currently my microphone is on a change table. The computer is also on a change table, and I'm that's the situation. So I was 4 minutes late.
I feel privileged that you're here, and I feel very sorry for your baby's health, that this podcast is disrupting her sleep. And I feel sorry for your health because ultimately you've probably got to retransplant her back to this podcast room.
Oh yeah, it's high risk. It's high risk. This better be worth it.
I'm very sorry for the relationship in your household. I feel like this podcast may be a source of tension, and maybe we all need to go to couples therapy together.
Thruples therapy. It's a booming sort of business in inner city Sydney where there is enough polyamory to make it work.
This weekend we got our live show at the Women in Media Conference, so if you've already got tickets to that, that's great. We'll see you there. And the following weekend we're doing shows, a big live show at the Thurs Sept. So if you're listening and you're in far north Queensland or want to get to far north Queensland, Thursday Island, Monday the 18th, we're going to be performing live in the Thurs Sept. All right, let's start the show. Hang on, let me do acknowledgement right here. I'm recording my end of Irrational Fear on Gundungurra and Tharawal land. Let's try listening. Let's have a voice. Let's start the show. Tonight, Albo goes to China after being invited by Xi Jinping. This in stark contrast to Albo not coming on Irrational Fear after being invited by me. And UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has rung the alarm bell saying that the total and utter climate breakdown has begun and the world is going to get much worse very quickly. In other news, Kanye West is on holiday in Italy and mamma mia, those photos are spicy. It's the 7th of September, 2023, and with more tough decisions than the RBA, this is Irrational Fear. Welcome to Irrational Fear. I'm the former CEO of Qantas, Dan IIic, and this is the podcast that takes the news and turns it into a delicious quiche. Let's meet our news chefs for tonight. that person has not come. Let me just skip over. Let's meet our new chef for
Albo,
tonight.
Dan, he's the Prime Minister.
Albo was going to come tonight, but he has cancelled. He's ditched us for G. So fuck Albo. Can I just quickly say, Albo retweeted a sketch I made on Friday, so that was pretty exciting to have the Prime Minister retweet one of your sketches.
Can I quickly just jump in with an Albo social media thing?
Yeah.
A friend of mine recently sent me a text. He was like, I don't know if you're aware of this, Lewis, but the Prime Minister of Australia follows you on Instagram, and you do not follow him back.
That's a power move.
I'm like, take that, Albo. What are you going to do for me?
Let me get to our guests. Here we go. They're an editorial cartoonist whose work appears in the Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. It's always good to have a professional doodler on the podcast. Megan Herbert, welcome to Irrational Fear.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Megan, what is the secret to being a professional doodler?
Staying in my little studio all day long and listening to a hell of a lot of talkback radio.
Oh, no. Can
Sorry.
we get some help for Megan, please? Oh, gosh.
Do you want to join couples therapy, Megan?
I'd really appreciate that. Let me tell you, Lewis, it does get better. My son's 11 now. You'll get out of this. It's going to be okay.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that.
And he's an activist, he's a writer, he's a maker, and he's the designer and the creator of the new hot board game called Gas Tycoon, coming to shelves near you. Please give it up for Matt Bray. Welcome to Irrational Fear, Matt Bray.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here and talk with all these lovely people.
It almost sounded there when you said coming to shelves near you, Dan, that you said coming to shells. I'm like, oh, they're putting it in shells. That's very progressive for Shell service station.
Actually, it would be really good. It would be brand synergy. I've got a note here saying that Gas Tycoon has very little similarity to Monopoly for legal reasons. Very little similarity.
I've actually had it tested by legal, so I'm pretty safe, I think.
Coming up, we're going to be talking to Matt about his game, Gas Tycoon, but here is a message from this week's sponsor. Hear that? That's the sound of Alan Joyce getting away from Qantas as quickly as possible. And thanks to legal action from the ACCC, you can now get away too. For every ticket you buy on Qantas, you can sit on a flight that hasn't been cancelled. We'll even throw in some wings and a seatbelt for free. That's right, buy a ticket, fly in a plane, and get away from your baggage. Emotional and literal. And as an added bonus, if we see you crying in the arrivals hall, we might cast you in our latest ad. We're always on the lookout for crying customers. Qantas, get away from us. Thank you, Qantas. This week's First Fear, cartoonists have drawn a line in the sand, which is absolutely terrible for their inkwells. Disgusting. And many have pulled their cartoons from consideration from the Walkley Awards this year because it turns out, and I don't know how a group of investigative minds have discovered this, but Australia's most prestigious journalism awards are sponsored by a fossil fuel company, Ampol. In fact, it gets a little trickier than that. It's not so much sponsored by Ampol, but the Walkley Awards were founded by the founder of Ampol with family money. The Walkleys are Ampol. The Walkleys are fossil fuels. No journalists have really pulled their work from this year's lineup, but lots of cartoonists have. Megan, you are part of the vanguard of cartoonists who've pulled your work from the Walkleys from consideration this year with a bunch of other high-profile people. How did you all swiftly draw to the same conclusion?
Well, it's funny. I can't speak for any other cartoonists, but I know that I gravitate towards cartooning because I have sort of a smart aleck energy and I've got a lot of opinions, but I'm also terminally non-confrontational. So I'm very happy to have all my opinions from behind the safety of like my statement glasses and my, drawing board. Quite happy to do that. So the fact that this gaggle of cartoonists came out from behind their drawing boards, all kind of independently of each other, triggered by John Kudelka putting his blog post out and all of us then looking into the thing we'd just submitted our entries to. It all kind of just snowballed, but there was very little organization. There was no kind of consensus. We all just independently realized that didn't make a hell of a lot of sense, entering an award ceremony sponsored by the thing we're constantly lampooning. So I mean, it was sort of a no-brainer, really.
So you got John Kudelka. Who else has pulled what other big kind of cartoony names have pulled there?
Yes, Fiona Katauskas, first
Wow.
dog on the moon. Glenn Lelieve, who was the cartoonist of the year, I think, last year. Who else did? David Rowe, Christopher Downs, a bunch. Yeah, a whole bunch. It was something like 10 or 12 cartoonists, which is quite a lot, really. When we really did not, there were no emails going back and forward. There was no sort of consensus. It was all done. Just a bit of a snowball effect.
Great conspiracy from the cartoonists.
No.
And
this,
of course,
and this idea that there's a sort of a big boycott as well is quite strange, because it was just individuals deciding not to enter or pulling their own entry. So
it's incredibly politic of you to say it's not a boycott. It's just a series of individuals all pulling out universally. That feels like, I feel like I'm talking to Scott Morrison about a boycott.
I told you, terminally non-confrontational. Don't come at me, okay?
We're just all not going independently as a group.
Quite separately, not going together. Yes.
I unfortunately, Dan, I think Michael Looning was going to pull out, but he already pulled out last year when he found out Pfizer was a sponsor.
Well, would you believe Lunick has thoughts on this, Lewis? He actually says that it's futile, and he says that if they want to change the game, they should use their illustrations to make change at the Walkleys. Well,
I don't feel like you, either individually or as a group, boycotting this event would stop you from drawing the cartoons that would still talk about it. I feel like Pocana Los Dos, Michael.
Correctamundo. And I mean, a lot of what Lunig and a couple of others who jumped on that bandwagon, Johannes Leek and Mark Knight, also had things to say. You know, it all sort of is living behind a Murdoch paywall. So I don't really know the details of it, to be frank, but I think it's just a whole lot of old men yelling at clouds.
Does this mean Cartoonist of the Year could perhaps go to Johannes Leek? Is this what we're hearing?
I think it most definitely could. I think there's going to be a sort of fossil fuel turbocharged table with, you know, everyone will turn up in their hot rods, and I don't know what.
This is great. I mean, I could illustrate. I could do some pro fossil fuel illustrations and enter them into the Walkleys.
I could metaphor rich. Yeah, the whole situation is metaphor rich, and we love a metaphor. So.
Oh God, this is great, Matt. What about you? Are you going to enter anything to the Walkleys now that the competition is a bit more sparse? The heavy hitters are gone.
Now that there's a bit of room, I think you might as well. You know.
They need they don't have a best board game category, best satirical board game.
Well, they might be desperate for entries, so maybe they'll create one for me.
Hang on, I'm just going to bring up my script. I'm lost. Here we go. Right. This week's second fear, Burning Man, more like bogged man, am I right? As 70,000 people descended on the Nevada desert, so did the rain from Tropical Storm Hillary, causing everyone there to be trapped in the mud with no working toilets and with pharmaceuticals that were useless against cholera. Fearmongers, is Burning Man high on your festival list? Lewis, let's start with you. You want to go to Burning Man?
No. Look, I was at Splendor in the Grass last year, which... So you know, when I see a festival that wet now, it's like triggering. Just like, get me out of there. And I was in the good part. You know, we were in the fancy part, and it was still not very pleasant. So I do think that a lot of the perks of Burning Man, the reasons you go, the nudity, the drugs, etc., very hard to do in the middle of any kind of wet. It's not normally the wetness that people seek at Burning Man.
Yeah, and these days it's not a scarce commodity. You can find that kind of stuff anywhere.
That's right. Plus, Fire Festival 2's coming down, so I don't know why anyone's going anywhere else.
I've got a Fire Festival story. So Billy put out a tweet saying, "Hey,
Billy McFarlane, the
founder of
and who went to prison for it."
Yeah. He put out a tweet saying, "Hey, you want to be an investor? I'm looking for venture capital. I'm looking for people to kind of get on board." So I sent him an email and I said, "Hey, I'm interested in investing." And then he sent me a prospectus with like 3 other people CC'd in. He said, "Hey, let's get Dan on board for a meeting," and sent me a prospectus.
Whoa!
And I never.
Did you read the prospectus?
No, it looked pretty rubbish. I don't think it was like a one-pager. So
Heavy on pictures, I'm guessing.
Yeah. There were pictures of tents and chicken burgers. Yeah.
And influencers.
I mean, it looked pretty good. Like some people who went to Burning Man have written op-eds to combat the media kind of hype around Burning Man being shit, and everyone who went to Burning Man seems to like have had a good time in the mud. And you, Lewis, you'll love this. One of the links I sent through to the group before the podcast was a op-ed written for the Sydney Morning Herald by 3 people who, at the bottom of the article, said these people are from Bondi Beach.
No,
They're local Bondi creatives.
yeah.
I read that
Beach-
article and got the impression that they are absolute regulars, regular burners. They're there often. That was the implication.
Well, they also didn't get to use the toilet, so I'm sure they are more regular than ever. It's amazing.
I sort of like. I kind of wish I had have gone, 8 years ago or something, when I really could have gotten stuck into it. I feel like now, anytime I feel like anyone who's like, I want to go to Burning Man, I'm like, good for you. Anyone who I think is like an old person who goes every year, I'm like, I feel like you need a new hobby. That's my personal opinion. I'm just like, this isn't for you. I think that about a lot, most music festivals, to be honest. I'm like, there is a time and a place for you to go, and there is a time and a place for you to let it go to the next generation of enthusiasts.
Yeah.
I was shitting on.
You can do the drugs at home.
That's it. You can do the drugs at home, and you can get naked at home. I get naked at least twice a day at home. It's so easy.
I get on acid twice a day at home.
And you don't have to go to the trouble of like building a disposable city for the 70,000 people, which seems to be a lot of effort, really.
There was a great clip. Diplo and Chris Rock said they walked 5 miles in the desert before being picked up by people who were fans of theirs for a ride. And they looked like they're having a great time in the back of a pickup truck heading out of the desert on the way home. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought, well, that's great. But surely if you're Diplo or Chris Rock, you would just like chopper in and out. At some point, there was fake social media accounts claiming that there was an Ebola outbreak at Burning Man,
no.
which the CDC had to dispel rumors of. The CDC tweeted saying, "This is fake. It's not true. There's no Ebola." But wouldn't that be like the best like Black Mirror episode? Like tech CEO helicopters into Burning Man, gets Ebola. That would be fantastic.
But they also had rumors of trench foot. Did you hear about that?
Trench foot,
as in
It was
World
only
War
9
I
days.
trench foot.
You
Yeah,
get
apparently
trench foot in 9
on set of trench foot, 10 hours.
Oh,
If
really?
your feet are wet for 10 hours, look out.
Well,
That's,
I also learned that the mud there is some particular type of mud that is very bad for you. So you really need. That's why people are walking around in rubbish bags, because trench foot.
Wow. There was one kind of comment in that Bondi Beach article that said that when they walked from their tent to the toilet, they would gain another 15 centimeters. So because the mud would just cake on to their feet.
Wow.
And that's appealing to me as a short guy. Like I'm up for that.
I mean, how wild is climate change that you can't feel safe from rain in the middle of a desert? Like we've really lost our minds.
Yeah, this is what the true thing is all about.
Like
hey, if you're listening,
sorry,
go, Lewis. Go,
Lewis. Fire Festival 2 should be really afraid of just like spontaneous combustion on their next island of Ja Rule.
If you're listening on the free feed, you're about to hear some ads, and we'll be back with Matt Bray to talk about the Gas Tycoon board game. But if you're on the Patreon, you'll hear us talk about US comedian who made a joke about Australia not having any exports. If you want to hear this very serious and funny conversation about GDP, sign up at patreon.com/irrational fear. This week's Extra Fear, a clip from a Netflix special, has drawn out the ire of pedantic Australians after a US comic dissed our GDP. Here is the clip.
Number 2. That's a good country, dude. Just a whole country doing nothing. That's what I like about them. They're just down there. 0 exports. Creating nothing, dude. The only export I've seen come out of Australia is just that YouTube video of that guy punching that kangaroo in the face. Yeah. You know that video, that kangaroo holding that dog hostage out in the woods. Owner shows up, squares up with the kangaroo. No hesitate. Kangaroo knew it was a fight, too. Guy just walking. If you've seen the video, you know how good that impression is. Yes.
You know, you can just get a Netflix special these days by impersonating viral videos. That's what I took away from that clip.
It does feel like that's the closed caption, sort of just a guy narrating YouTube.
That's it. You can get a Netflix special by doing that. That's
Amazing.
great. So
I might get I'm going to pitch my Netflix special, which is narrating that guy's Netflix special. I'm just like, and then this guy, right? He does this impression of this YouTube video that you've seen, and the impression's fine. It's okay. And anyway, you've seen the video. Next part, please. $1 million.
So, but does he have a point, Fearmongers? Do we not export anything?
Hello, have you not heard of the Hemsworth brothers?
There's
They're
at least three
everywhere.
of them. Yeah. Yeah, that is. I think the Hemsworth brothers are our second largest export after iron ore. Like Crush Rock and Hemsworth brothers. That's what we export.
We should actually get the Hemsworths to crush the rock. Then we could just fuse them together. Just get Chris out there in the dirt, crushing it with his arms.
The great thing is he's already got a hammer, so we don't even need to equip him. He's great.
We should get a Hemsworth factory. What have we got? 4?
Yeah, just isn't there one on Phillip Island? That's where I heard it was.
That's right. We need to bring back local manufacturing of Hemsworth right here to Australia.
Bring him back. Joining us now is the creator and mastermind of a brand new board game where you can create your own fossil fuel fiefdom. It is called Gas Tycoon. Matt, Bray, you are the creator of it. Tell us about Gas Tycoon. What made you want to make a very, very similar but not too similar version of Monopoly called Gas Tycoon?
Gas Tycoon came about after a couple of years of hearing the shift in the narrative from the fossil gas industry. It started with ScoMo talking about a gas-led recovery.
Oh yeah, that's something we've spoken a lot about on this show. Like if you want to go back into the records, we talk about curing COVID with a gas-led recovery, curing COVID with pipelines. Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
So it was a thing that made me start to think, well, what's happening here? Because they're starting to distance themselves from their bedfellow coal. So what is their play here? And then it started to be like, oh, they're the big transition fuel. And I kind of think, well, let's dig into this. And so for the past 6 months, I thought, well, here's the idea then. Let's expose what actually is happening with these big players in the fossil gas industry, and let the Australian public play them, see how they actually operate, get some little insights, and feel the rush of being a gas tycoon. It plays well, and anybody can be a gas tycoon.
So this is actually a training mechanism to become a lobbyist.
Or a billionaire.
Yes. Wow, that's amazing. I do enjoy like the chance cards that you've got here, which are really good. I particularly like this one, the pass the buck card here, which is good. I love this one here, the spy versus spy card. Did you know Australia bugged the Timor-Leste cabinet before oil and gas revenue sharing negotiations? These are really good. These are they're very, very educational and very funny. You must have spent a lot of time writing jokes. Are you tired from making this game?
That is my constant, being tired. Generally, right. That is how I live. That is how I live now. But yeah,
sounds like someone needs a gas-powered recovery.
Yes. But yeah, those little, and they're not chance cards because there's two. They'll be two Monopoly-esque. But they do each of those cards has a little tidbit that's references an article that anybody can go out and read. So it's not really me saying this is my opinion of the industry. It's me saying, look, here's some information that's out there, presented in a way that hopefully will be enjoyable and also make you think, oh, we're a bit fucked, aren't we?
I love this one here. We bought a zoo about Woodside, about WA resources industry, getting a whole bunch of money and putting into government projects. Did they buy a zoo? Did they sponsor the zoo?
They are sponsoring the zoo as part of that $750 million package in WA. So interesting stats in there.
Well, if you're going to destroy some habitats, you need to make some pens to move all the animals to the new habitats. And those animals, they look like the real thing.
Soon they're going to be like, it's going to be like Las Vegas, where they'll blow up an old, Jock and Gorge sort of beautiful artifact, and they'll rebuild it in smaller scale in Perth.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. A great Lego Masters-esque TV show.
Yeah, rebuild all of the things that Rio Tinto blew up.
You've gone absolutely crazy, Matt, in getting ready to market this. You've even got radio ads. Let me play one of the radio ads.
Play Australia's #1 fossil fuel board game, Gas Tycoon. It's fracking good fun.
I got a Senate inquiry.
Order now to find out who will be the biggest. Gas Tycoon. Go to gastycoon.com.au.
Wow, you've even got a theme song. And if you go to the Gas Tycoon Kickstarter page, you can see the ad, the TV ad, which has got like Muppets, puppets. I guess puppets are kind of like symbolic. Is that right?
Puppets are symbolic of not having a budget to have actors.
Right.
How far away are you from your Kickstarter goal?
It is currently at 7%. We've just started the campaign. We've got a few things planned to keep the thing, to generate some interest. So I'm pretty confident, but I have had 2 failed Kickstarters previously. So, hey,
so have I.
Who knows?
Yeah, no, crowdfunding is a little tricky. It's a little tricky. Sometimes you fail, but that's okay. You just got to get up and
great.
It is tricky. I think the good thing this time is that I have created 100 prototypes of the game, so I know how to get production done. I've sent 15 or 20 odd games to politicians and some to media. Anthony Albanese might be enjoying this game soon.
You don't need to give him a game. You just need to give him a shirt with Gas Tycoon written on it, and he'll wear that. He'll wear that for you.
He could be one of the little tokens. And Tanya could be there.
Tanya can be a token. Yeah. I've got a question. Here's the thing. Monopoly was initially designed to be an anti kind of capitalist, anti kind of landlord game. But what it does is indoctrinate people into greed, and it destroys families. Let's be real about that. Really destroys families. But are you concerned that people will play this game and they will want to become Gas Tycoons themselves?
Well, in researching the game, I did look back at the history, and that the roots of it was an anti-capitalist kind of board game, and then it got coerced, and now it's like everybody enjoying just screwing over their friends for money. And if that ends up being the legacy where I create a whole lot of Gas Tycoons, I'll take it. You got to go down in history for something.
This is just all about legacy for you. It's not actually about achieving any kind of theory of change.
At least if there's 100 Gas Tycoons, there'll be some competition,
Yes.
Yeah. Is there any gas lighting in Gas Tycoon? Is there a Boulder Dash thing where you get to lie to your other competitors?
There's many ways it could go, because I'm still developing the final retail version. So I'll take back on any feedback.
All right, excellent.
There may be gaslighting.
That's great. Well, the good news is, if you want to become a Patreon supporter of Irrational Fear, Matt is going to send out 5 to the next 5 people who sign up to Patreon. So thanks, Matt, for that. That's going to be great. It's quite a really well thought out game. It's very well done.
I actually really surprised myself in how well it turned out.
If you want to plug Gas Tycoon in one sentence, what would you say, Matt?
It's fracking good fun for the whole family. Get on board.
That is it for Irrational Fear. Big thanks to our guests, Matt Bray and Megan Herbert. Megan, do you want to plug anything?
Yes, you can catch me every Thursday morning from 9 till 10 a.m. on RPPFM, which is your Peninsula radio station.
Oh, hello.
Doing some comedy with myself and Emily Watson on a little show called You're Welcome. Otherwise, you can see me on the gram.
That's great. Wonderful.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's a good plug. Lewis, are you on doing any kind of Peninsula radio yourself?
No, I'm off radio. I've sworn off it for at least another week. But I am doing a live tour at the moment. You can come and see me and Michael Hing doing our last show ever tour. We've still got dates in Brisbane, Bendigo, Canberra, and Newcastle to go. And if you can't go to any of those, you can listen to my other podcast, which is called Silver Bullet.
Excellent. And Matt, I know we just plugged Gas Tycoon, but do you want to plug anything else?
Anything else? The fossil ad ban. Like let's ban everything. Let's get that tobacco style ban on fossil fuel advertising. It does no good for Australia. Let's ditch it.
All right, great. Last week I made a little sketch about The Voice, and it is on pretty much all the social medias with The Rational Fear, and it's already done over 500,000 views. Like, it has been absolutely crazy. I recorded it at home, and the audio was a little bit loud and distorted, and I thought, oh, it's okay, no one's going to see it. And I published I published it thinking it would get like 100 views, but it ended up getting 500,000. So you can go check that out. And I hear Brad Blank's friend of the show, Brad Blank, sent me a text early in the morning saying Ben Simmons's mum reposted the Irrational Fear voice clip. So how good is that? That is fantastic. Taika Waititi liked it.
I almost fell over when I saw Taika liked it. That's,
So did I. I was so excited. I was like,
sorry, Dan. I tried to watch it, but the audio, it was just too bad.
That's why it's got captions, Lewis. It's got captions. Yeah. Anyway, so 500,000 people watch it. So it's that'll be in the email out. If you missed it yourself, you could check it out there. Big thanks to Road Mike's Australian Ethical, our Patreon supporters. We had quite a few Patreon supporters sign up this week. I will plug them all next week, but a big thank you to Bill Vickers, who signed up at the maximum amount, and he is a big supporter of the show. So thank you, Bill. That was excellent. Jacob Brown.
Vickers.
Yes, thank you, Bill Vickers. Big thanks to Jacob Brown on the Teppanyaki timeline for all of his sketch work. Until next week, there's always something to be scared of. Bye. All right. Stop recording there. Thanks, everyone. That was great.